Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight, education, and resources to in-home caregivers and those affected in their world. These are the children, the parents, the extended family, and everyone who loves them. And our goal is to offer real-life topics and learning through discussing real issues and offering real solutions. And tonight, I am very excited to welcome back a guest that we have had before, but we're welcoming her back in an entirely different capacity tonight. So welcome, Wendy, the INA 2021 Nanny of the Year.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be back on tonight.
We are excited to have you also. Wendy, if you're not familiar with her, has been in the industry for a long time. She is a CASH certified newborn care specialist, a master NCS through Newborn Care Solutions, a sleep consultant, and a seasoned nanny with over 16 years of professional experience. And she also has a really great side business called Nanny Consults, where she offers interview and resume and contract and all kinds of expertise to help you really take your game to a whole new level professionally. And she didn't ask me to tell you about that, but I wanted to tell you about it because I know so many people who benefited from those services. But tonight, we're going to spend our time focusing on her role as the 2021 International Nanny Association Nanny of the Year. Before we jump into this, Wendy, share with us maybe just a little bit, I don't know, something fun about you that has impacted your career in some way.
Oh, that's a really good question. Something fun that has impacted my career in a good way. I think something that I'm very passionate about personally, and Tanya, you'll know this well, is that I'm very, very passionate about traveling and seeing the world. And I'm also very, very passionate about water. I am a scuba diver. I like to snorkel. I love to swim. I love to be anywhere where there's water. And that has actually brought me some really unique opportunities as a newborn care specialist, specifically a lot in this past year, is that I've been able to use that personal experience to really start picking up some travel positions and traveling with families who share very similar passions to me. And most recently, I spent some time on the East Coast, and I was on a lake with the family I worked with and was able to spend time in the water every day. And it was really, really fun how my professional life met my personal passion. And that was something very exciting and special to me.
Yeah, that absolutely is. I share that passion of travel and of diving in water. So I totally get that. And I joke all the time that I might even come out of retirement as a nanny for the right position if there was enough water involved. So I get it. I want to talk tonight specifically with you about being the International Nanny Association Nanny of the Year. So for our people who might not be familiar with that, now I'm intimately familiar. I served on their board for many years and was co-president for 2 years. So I'm intimately familiar with the INA, but maybe some of our audience is not. Tell us a little bit about the INA and then kind of about their Nanny of the Year award.
Yeah, absolutely. So the INA is the International Nanny Association, and it's a nonprofit professional organization that caters to people who work in the private childcare industry. So INA members can be nannies, they can be specialty nannies, which is like a newborn care specialist or a doula or a household manager. There are agencies who are members, there are nanny employers, educators, anyone who works kind of in this general private childcare industry is a candidate to be a part of the International Nanny Association. And I first joined about 12 years ago. When I first heard of it, I heard of it from a local nanny who was kind of a mentor to me. And I joined the organization, and I wasn't consistently a member, but in the years when I remembered to renew or to keep up on it, I would be a member. But I didn't really see the value in it personally until I went to the first conference. So the INA offers a lot of things. They offer online training. There's a Facebook group that's a very professional group. And as we know, Facebook groups can sometimes go a little crazy, but it's a very professional group where you can get amazing information. You can connect with people who are mentors. They offer professional development. But I think really one of the most amazing things that the INA offers is an annual conference. And when I attended that first annual conference, I knew that I was never going to let my membership lapse again, because that really is, the bread and butter of being able to go and just learn so much more about nannying from people who've been there, who've had the experience, and from professionals from the last conference I went to, or the only conference I went to, was 2019. And there were chiropractors there, and there were people discussing respectful care and discussing postpartum depression, and just these amazing, amazing options to go every year to this annual conference and not only learn, but connect with those in the industry, which I've found for myself has been integral in building my own business and who I am as a nanny. And so it's not a super expensive membership. They offer so many great things. It's amazing to feel like, in an industry where we experience so much isolation, to join this professional organization that gives you that connection that we so desperately are missing in this line of work. And so that's the International Nanny Association. And I just think it's amazing. I recommend it to all nannies that I know, all newborn care specialists. I think that it is just a huge resource for each of us to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, I know you mentioned that the membership is really inexpensive. For individuals, it absolutely is. Even their business membership, because I'm a business member, even their business membership is affordable. And there are a lot of benefits in addition to the conference and the things you mentioned. We provide a discount, for example, to our training to all INA members. And there are a lot of businesses who do that. So there's lots of opportunities for additional discounts. And they have their basic skills assessments and their credentialing exams for both nannies and NCS, which is a way to show both parents and agencies that, you know your stuff. There's a lot that is available to members if they go looking for it and check things out. And the resources on the website, it's great. And one of the things that they do is they recognize every year a nanny or specialty nanny within the industry who stands out as excellent, who stands out as somebody who really is making a difference, both for families and for the industry, with their Nanny of the Year award. And you are the 2021 recipient. So a lot of people are interested in, oh, wait, maybe I want to do this. So I want to talk to you. I want you to share with us a little bit kind of what the nomination and selection process is like for this award, so that people would have some idea, if they think maybe they might be a good candidate for it, what it takes to go through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a question that I have gotten many, many times over since it was released that I was selected, which I just have to say was such an amazing honor. It was a career goal of mine for well over a decade now, ever since I first heard about the INA and about the Nanny of the Year award. So it was just such an honor to even be nominated, much less selected. But, I think what a lot of people don't know, even those who are members of the INA, is what a huge process it actually is. I was released as the award recipient in May of 2021, this year. But this process started all the way back in fall of 2020. Nominations opened up in October of 2020. And one of the big things, unlike some awards, is the first step is you have to be nominated by someone who is not yourself. So it's not something that I could have gone in and said, hey, I want to be considered for Nanny of the Year. Somebody else has to nominate you. And I actually had 2 nominators. I had one of my newborn care specialist clients that I worked with alongside my business nanny consults. And also have just known in the industry for about 10 years. She was one of my nominators. And my other nominator was an agency, ABC Nannies and Domestics, who has just been a huge part of my career in general. They placed me in 2 different nanny positions. They've placed me in, oh gosh, 4 or 5, I'm not even sure if that's the right number, but newborn care specialist positions. I have an amazing relationship with both Ginger Swift and Jamie Dennis, who own the agency. And they had reached out to me and asked if I would be okay with them nominating me for this, which was for me an absolute yes. But what I didn't realize until after I really read through what it means to be nominated is how big that process actually is. And I know, Tanya, that you're familiar with this because you've been nominated as Nanny of the Year before too. But there's something called a digital portfolio that you have to create. Once the nomination is secured, you receive this digital portfolio that you have to fill out. And it was like a full-time job. I completed it all in a week because that's how my schedule worked. And it probably took me a full 40 hours to go through this portfolio. Just the instructions for it were 12 pages long. And I think I was informed in January of my nomination, and we had until March to complete that portfolio and all of the other things that are required. So between nomination and release of the names of the people who were nominated, you have to keep everything completely confidential. So I couldn't tell anyone what I was being nominated for. Or even that I was nominated for something. You have to sign a conflict of interest disclosure for all of to release any conflicts of interest that you have for anyone who is on the selection panel to make sure that everything is kept fair. And then you fill out this digital portfolio, which includes, your basic information, your contact information, a copy of your most recent resume and work history, a headshot, letters of reference, contact information for people, for references that are willing to actually submit an email or be contacted by phone to give you a reference. And then the most difficult part is the essays. There were 4 or 5 essays surrounding things like why do you qualify to be Nanny of the Year? And some of the questions this year were, what contributions have you made to child development? How able are you to adapt to change within your workday? What contributions have you made to the industry? What are some of your professional and educational achievements? And you had to go through and you had to write essays on each of these. And then you also submitted photos and releases to use photos for media. And what I thought was really cool going through this whole process is I read this digital portfolio package, which anybody can find, by the way, on nanny.org. It's actually on there. So if you want to see more information about what is required, you can look at the packet on there, I believe. But what I thought was really cool is that the selection panel, 70% of this entire selection is done completely blind. So there are no names attached. All identifying information in any essay or basic information is redacted. And then everything's on a points-based system. So they go through each piece of your portfolio and the selection committee assigns a point-based system to each item that you complete. And so before they even get to know our names or who was selected, most of the process is done already. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a great way to really even the playing field and make sure that there isn't any decisions being made based on, personal knowledge of a person's public or professional life. It takes away a lot of that, making sure that nobody's playing favorites when you're going through this process. And I really liked that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I love. It's one of the changes that was implemented a few years ago while I was still on the INA board. And I love the fact that they do that to make it as fair as possible. I also love that the selection committee is entirely separate from the board of INA, because a lot of people have the misconception that the officers of the INA, the board members, actually choose, and they don't even know who is chosen until it's done. So I love that also. If someone is a nanny or an NCS or a specialty nanny and they're interested in being Nanny of the Year, what are some of the qualifications they need to have? What are some of the things they're looking for?
So first and foremost, they just want somebody, like you mentioned earlier, somebody who demonstrates excellence and professionalism in the industry. Even though you're not technically, the figurehead of the INA, you are a public person who's going to be representing them during your time as the Nanny of the Year. So there are a few requirements that you do have to meet if you want to be considered, and you have to sign a form that says that you meet all of these requirements before you can even get into that process. So some of those requirements include you have to be a current member of the INA. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you go on nanny.org and check out membership, because you do have to be a member to be nominated. You have to have a minimum of 5 years experience working as a nanny or a specialty nanny. So an NCS or a doula, they all would apply. But you have to have a minimum of 5 years experience. You have to be currently working full-time, and they designate that as either 40 hours or more per week, or a minimum of 2,080 hours in a year. You have to be legally able to work in the country in which you're employed. So this is International Nanny Association is an international association. So we have families or nannies from Australia, from the UK, from France, we have from Mexico, we have nannies from all over the world. So as long as you're legally able to work in the country you're currently working in, you would qualify. You have to be legally paid according to the terms of the country you're working in. So no, I'm in the US. If I were paid under the table, I would not be able to qualify to be Nanny of the Year. You have to be nominated by someone other than yourself. You have to have a clean background check with no felonies. And then you have to be able to complete that digital portfolio in the time required. There are pretty strict deadlines on all of this information. So, if you're not going to be able to complete the requirements, then it's would make more sense to wait for another year and hope to get nominated again.
Right. And so just to give people a more kind of personal example, what are some of the things that really made you stand out to the selection committee as they were making their process? What were the things that they said, oh, wait, this is kind of cool?
That's a really good question, and actually something that I wondered as well after I was selected, because I didn't know who was selecting me. Mm-hmm. But I've had the opportunity to talk with some members of the selection committee and talk with last year's Nanny of the Year, which was Kim Morgan, who did my, I didn't mention that you also have to do a personal interview, which is about an hour long for the selection process, and Nanny Kim conducted my interview. And I asked that question. I said, what are some of the things that made me stand out, that made you think that I would be best? And a couple of the answers I got were professionalism. The way that I presented myself on the live interview, something that Kim told me is just the way that I presented myself, the way I dressed, the way that I spoke as a public speaker. Those were all really important things. From the selection committee, a lot of it had to do with my contribution to the nanny industry outside of the actual work that I did. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. I have and it's weird, talking about this because I feel like I'm just fluffing myself up. But I worked with the Denver Area Nanny Association, is a Facebook social group for nannies in the Denver area, and I've run that for a little over 10 years. I've done a lot of mentorship with younger nannies starting out, and then now I'm really getting into that as a newborn care specialist now that I'm pretty established in the field. And then the company that I have built, coaching nannies and consulting with nannies on, the professional, basically the human resources side of this job. Those are all things that I've been very passionate about. I'm very passionate about speaking and just being a voice for the nanny industry. And those were some of the things that were mentioned to me that really set apart my profile when going through that selection process.
Fantastic. That I think is beneficial for people to know, because it can help them as they're looking at their career and saying, do I have some of the things that would stand out? So I like hearing that. So what is expected of you now as Nanny of the Year? So you've got this role, right? Obviously we're interviewing you. I know you do other interviews, but what is the expectation? If someone is selected as Nanny of the Year, what does the INA ask of them?
Yeah, the great thing is that when you are accepting your nomination or turning down your nomination is that they are very clear upfront about what will be expected of you. And that was really important to me. So I could really make that decision. Am I able to commit my time and energy to these things? So some of the things expected, typically you're expected to attend the annual conference of the year that you are selected, as well as the following year's annual conference. Now, because of COVID, because of some of the regulations around that, that was not required this year, but I do still plan to be a part of those. And I did actually attend the conference this year too, which was virtual. I meant to mention earlier, the conference next year is supposed to be live again. It's supposed to be in Vegas, March 31 through April 3. So I'm going to plan to attend that conference. But I wasn't required to, as the typical Nanny of the Year would be. If I were to come in and say, you know, I'm not comfortable with COVID going in March of next year, they would be very understanding of that. But typically you will be required to attend those two conferences. You are required to conduct yourself in a professional manner in all public settings, including on social media. Again, you are not the face of the INA, but you are linked to the INA during this time. So you have to conduct yourself as a professional when you are in those public settings. When you're at the annual conference, you are required to attend the conference workshops and to make sure that you are socializing with attendees. So no, you know, retreating to your room and hiding away from everybody. You are expected to kind of be out and about and talking and, you know, being a representative of this amazing organization. You have to be available and you have to be visible. You have to be familiar with the INA mission, and also with the process of NOTY, which is, and I don't know if we've said that yet, we call it NOTY, Nanny of the Year, N-O-T-Y. So you have to be familiar with the NOTY process, which is exactly what we're talking about today. You have to send thank yous to people who have donated gifts. That was actually something really fun and unexpected for me, is I've had some amazing gifts given by agencies, by Nanny Tees sent me some stuff. There's Nanny pins and just some amazing, really fun gifts. I've gotten flowers from people. I've gotten agencies have sent me some things and gift cards, and that was all really unexpected and really exciting for me. So, you know, making sure that you're thanking those who have taken the time to recognize you through just reaching out, or through small gifts, or through big gifts. That's something. You have to be available for media appearances, and so be available for real talks and be available for anyone who wants to do an interview, whether it be a written interview, a video interview. You know, I think last year, Nanny Kim had some really cool articles written about her as our first woman of color who was nominated and selected as the Nanny of the Year. And she comes from a small island, and there were some really cool articles written about her. So, you know, being available for that, being available to be a public representative of this amazing industry. I will be required next year to serve on the next Nanny of the Year committee, or to conduct the interviews. I'll have the choice between which of those I want to do. I haven't decided yet. And then just promoting the INA as a professional organization, encouraging people to nominate those that they see as excellent in the industry. And eventually, when there is the next Nanny of the Year award ceremony and somebody takes the baton from me, I will be there, hopefully in person, to present that award to the next Nanny of the Year as well.
Fantastic. And all this is great, but tell us, Wendy, what does this mean to you personally as a nanny, as a newborn care specialist, as somebody who's worked really hard in our industry in both educating yourself, but in helping to educate others? What does it mean to you personally to get this award?
It was the biggest honor of my life to be, like I said, not only nominated, but selected for this award. Over a decade ago, Cindy Wilkinson is a nanny that I've worked alongside through a big portion of my career. She's been in this industry for dozens of years, and she was an INA Nanny of the Year recipient. And she and Christy Ox, who was also a Nanny of the Year recipient, were both huge mentors of mine, especially early on in my early 20s. When I was learning about this industry and learning who I was in this industry. And when I saw these two women and what they had accomplished in their time, I knew that that's the type of nanny that I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who younger nannies looked up to, someone who garnered respect in the industry, somebody who was professionally respected and personally respected. And I knew from way back then that I wanted that being Nanny of the Year through the International Nanny Association was one of my professional goals. And to be selected, 17 years into my career was just amazing to me. It's not something that I thought that I would achieve at this point in my life. So to be able to get to this point at 35 years old has just been really amazing for me. And it's also really amazing to have a platform now, to have that platform and that professional organization backing me that allows me to have a voice and to contribute more towards positive change within the industry, and to making sure that we are getting the respect that we deserve. Because as many people know, who work in this industry, oftentimes we're not seen as the professionals that we are. And I think even in my personal life, with my personal acquaintances, people who may not have ever thought too much about what I do, or who thought, well, she's just a babysitter. Those people have come out of the woodwork to express their respect for what I've done and what I've achieved. So not only is it elevating the industry, but it's also elevating my reputation among my personal acquaintances. That's a difficult word. So it's just an honor, to be recognized alongside Cindy Wilkinson and Christy Ox and Marley Hudanish and Kim Morgan and Jill Griffith and Heidi Jolene, and these nannies who I have had so much respect for in both my professional and personal life, who have walked this path before me. It's amazing to be considered alongside of them. And it's something that has opened doors to opportunities that I never would have dreamed of. And it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's great. And of course, we at Newborn Care Solutions are always thrilled when someone who's gone through classes with us is nominated and then selected as the INA Nanny of the Year. So of course, we are happy to shout it from the rooftops as well. Before we wrap up here, Wendy, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience that you want people to know about anything related to being Nanny of the Year or the process, or whatever you want to share? One final thought.
I think I would just speak to the nannies who are where I was when I first heard about the INA, the nannies who are 19, 20, 21 years old, who are just getting into this, who are wondering, can this be a long-term career? Can I accomplish my goals by being in this industry? Do I have to go get a real job? I would talk to them and say, absolutely, this is a real job. This is a real career. This is an opportunity to make a huge difference in this world. And that if you work towards that, there are organizations, there are people out there who are going to respect you and uplift you for what you accomplish. So don't be afraid. If this is your passion, don't be afraid to work in this industry. Don't be afraid to have big goals. You can get there. I got there. So many people have gotten there ahead of me. And the only way to go from here is up.
I think that's great advice. And I, have that conversation with people a lot who say, is this really something I can do for a lifetime? And yeah, my grandparents asked me that same question all those years ago when I walked away from graduate school. And here I am 30-some years later, still working in this industry, although in a little bit different aspect now, but absolutely, I agree with you. So as always, Wendy, it's a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you for joining us tonight on Real Talk. It's always fun to learn with you. It's always fun to hear about what you're doing. And I know that you've shared some really valuable information with our audience. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me again. I always love being here.
Absolutely. If you have any questions for Wendy about this topic or anything related to the INA or being Nanny of the Year, put them in the feed and tag Wendy or tag Newborn Care Solutions, and we'll make sure that you get answers. And if you want to rewatch this segment or catch any of our past Real Talk episodes, along with accessing all of our other educational content, pop over to newborncaresolutions.com and click on the education tab. And we have a ton of content on our YouTube channel. Just type Newborn Care Solutions into the YouTube search and it will all come up for you. Thanks for joining us and have a great evening.